Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Hope you're having a good day. Been kind of mild weather here, overcast and in the low 50s, so it hasn't been that bad. Probably going to get rain off and on the rest of the week from what I see. So it ain't quite cold enough yet for that to be snow, at least where I live. But up in the mountains and Maine, maybe some of those areas will probably see a little bit of snow. That's Maine. We're moving into winter. That's what we do here. Okay, so former Mayor Giuliani is being a little prick there with following some orders the court had asked him to do. And he has to hand over some assets, right? And instead of doing that, he's been hiding stuff. He cleaned out his apartment, put things in a storage unit somewhere, and then I gather he brought stuff to another house, which I think was his father's place at one time, and somehow managed to elude people trying to get stuff there. But he's being a deadbeat here, and of course, the media doesn't really talk a whole lot about Giuliani because I think the media, for the most part, have had egg in their face from him. During 9/11, the media couldn't get enough of this guy. He was America's mayor. Remember that? Well, for those of you my age, yeah, you probably would, but for the youths out there, you wouldn't remember that. But the media was all hyped up over Mayor Giuliani at the time and called him America's mayor because he was the person who spoke for New York City and tried to, inspire strength that the city would rebuild itself and be resilient, and it would go on. And the rest of the country took, hope from that, the things that he was saying. And then now here he is, probably one of the most hated guys in the country now. And because he did business with Trump, okay, and not above board business, I should say, some dirty shenanigans. Because he was working with Trump, he ruined himself with Trump, as most people do who work with Trump, and now he's paying the price. So he's his popularity is gone, really. I don't think anybody really cares about him anymore now. You don't hear his kids say or defend him much anymore now, because I think they figure that they're coming out and trying to defend their father is like, you're wasting time. Nobody wants to hear it, But here's the thing, if this was a regular American, like you, like me, people that really don't get any media attention at all, okay, would we not already be sitting in jail for contempt of court? Because that's what he's done here. He's committed contempt of court by hiding assets that he's supposed to hand over. Now, some things that he doesn't want to give up. you know, some sports memorabilia or something like that, I guess, from what I gather. I mean, I'm not into sports, so I don't fucking know what the value of that shit is, but, you know, he's got rings, he's got, you know, pictures, you know, anything of value that's sports related. He doesn't want to give it up, okay? But when the court tells you assets, you know, they ain't fucking around. And he's fucking around right now with the courts. And, you know, and I just say, you know, why do the courts let this guy play them for a fool? You know, why is the judge letting Giuliani play him for a fool? You know, it's bad enough that we got Supreme Court justices that are corrupt. And, you know, but then to see, you know, a regular judge allowing a man like Giuliani to basically, you know, get away with things when you know it wouldn't apply to anybody else, you know, the leniency that he's shown him. And Giuliani doesn't care about the leniency he's been getting. He keeps thumbing his nose up at the court. And I'm saying, you know, you don't have an obligation to treat him like a, you know, like a celebrity. He ain't a celebrity. Nobody likes him anymore now. He's a has-been. All right? He had his time and he squandered it. He squandered it. So he ain't that smart. But the thing is he's got to, you know, you've got to treat him like everybody else. So that way it gives hope to the rest of the country that rich people don't always get away with crimes, okay? I mean, with Trump, it was bad enough with him, okay? He's obviously never going to be held to account for much of the things that he did while he was president and after, okay? That's a sad thing, but that's the way it is, okay? So we proved to ourselves that we can't hold our leaders accountable for a goddamn thing. They do what they want. They didn't need to have the Supreme Court say anything about that. It just is. And so, as it is, our justice system is a joke. And it's incredible the number of people that sunk themselves for Trump, you know. And some of them didn't get this nice, you know, treatment from the courts like Giuliani's getting. Some of these people, you know, they came down hard on, you know, and it's not like, you know, they weren't financially well set. It's just that for some reason most of the other people, like lawyers and stuff that did things for Trump and all that, you know, you didn't get much attention from the media about it until after the fact, okay, until after they were sentenced. Then you hear about it. But, you know, they didn't get off scot-free of things. You know, they weren't coddled by the courts. But that's what Giuliani has been, you know, getting here. You know, they're treating him like, oh, he's an important man. He was, but he ain't now. You ain't got nothing to fear from him. You can treat him just like all the other scumbags you've treated over the years. You don't need to coddle this fucker. All right? He's a big boy. He can take it. And the fact is, he's in contempt of court. He knows this. I mean, he's a lawyer, okay, or he was. He's in contempt of court, and he knows how to sidestep things, and he's getting special treatment, and that's not fair. That is not fair for other people in this country that commit crimes, you know, and they get harsher treatment than that, you know. And, you know, it's really frustrating when you hear stories like this. Now, here's an interesting story here that I stumbled onto here out in is it Seattle? Yeah, in Washington State. This happened here, you know, a couple, 2-3 days ago, I guess, or when is it? Yeah, it happened like a week ago, I guess, but I didn't see it till now. Some of you probably already know it. Maybe it was already reported on your local news or national news, whatever. But this is written by Ryan Sims at KOMO in Como, Seattle. Okay. It's entitled "Woman Killed Father with Ice Axe During Argument Over Lighting in Their Home," the police say. Authorities in Washington State have charged a woman with murder after police say she killed her father with an ice climbing axe. You know what those things look like? It's like a pickaxe, right? It all began after an argument over turning on the lights inside the house they shared. According to court papers, the first signs of trouble in the case happened when neighbors heard smashing glass. All of it took place on election night when the presidential race was about to be announced. Quote, "My first thought was, are people getting upset over this election, or is somebody trying to break and enter?" Unquote, one neighbor asked. Prosecutors say the actual answer was much more horrific. Investigators say 33-year-old Corey Burke smashed nearly every window in the home immediately after killing her father with an ice axe. Quote, "The lights were off and only 2 people live in that house, and only one of them was on the street." Unquote, the neighbor added. The neighbor, who did not want to be named, lives near Burke. As she watched the election results, she said she noticed flashing lights outside. Then she noticed Burke covered in blood. Quote, "My thought was something calamitous had happened in the household," unquote, the nearby resident said. "My first instinct was, did she kill her father with her bare hands?" Unquote. Prosecutors say that's what happened, except the killing also involved an ice axe. All of it allegedly occurred after officials say Burke snapped at her father for simply turning on the lights inside the house. Quote, "When things like this happen, the whole neighborhood gets traumatized," unquote, the neighbor said. Yeah, no shit. Burke has now been charged with first-degree murder. According to prosecutors, Burke may have been suffering from a mental health crisis. She was hospitalized, then transported to jail, where she is being held on a $2 million bail. Corey Burke, who is a self-proclaimed power lesbian, and said that her murdering of her father was an act of liberation and was determined to set boundaries about his emotions. She worked for billionaire Jeff Bezos' rocket startup Blue Origin, and the house there that she smashed up was worth $850,000 home. I was like, Jesus Christ. Okay. Now here's a little. Let me see a picture. This is a picture. The dark-haired girl. That's Burke, and that was their girlfriend, I guess, or lover, whatever. And apparently, they're saying, well, she's got a serious impulse control problem or something, I guess. I don't know what the hell. But she's going to be, here's a nice picture of her right here. Okay. All right. Well, you hit somebody with a fucking ice axe, and I'm telling you, you're not going to, that person's not going to get up. But she's sitting there watching the election night, and I can imagine she was probably really pissed at how it was turning out. And when you're pissed and somebody asks you to do something small like, oh, can you lock the door, or can you go take out the trash, you don't even want to hear that. Okay, you're so mad that just the simplest sound can set some people off. Wasn't a good night for her. Wasn't a good thing to ask her to do, to turn off the light. Okay, that's a sign of a person who's at their edge. I mean, yeah, it was a tense night. Okay, we all felt it, but some of us could deal with that, and others can't. And Corey obviously couldn't deal with that. And her father asked her to do something, and no, and she kills him. And oh yeah, and then they said that they heard clapping in the house. She actually was waiting for her father to die, and when he finally died, she started clapping. Talk about oh geez, yeah. And to think she was working for Jeff Bezos in that space program near Blue Origin. Okay? You can't be dumb to be working there, but you see, intelligence is not a counter to mental problems, okay? You can be smart, but you can be psychotic. You can be smart, you can be a murderer, you know? Just because someone's intelligent doesn't necessarily mean that they will follow the law or that they have reason to match their intelligence. You know, it doesn't work that way. Some of the dumbest people in the world probably know better than to do something like that, right? Because they have an ethical quality to them, and, you know, they're mentally healthier, okay, for the most part. But, you know, it's just, these things are just, these things happen. And I'm surprised that, you know, there wasn't more calamity after Kamala had lost the election, because, you know, so many people were so intent on her becoming the president. You know, people were really energized by her, like I was, you know. And the fact that she lost, I'm surprised the next morning people just weren't out on the streets just thrashing the shit out of the neighborhoods. I mean, I just, you know, but, you know, that's what MAGA would do. MAGA would do something like that, okay? We saw that. I mean, they got pissed enough to go attack the damn national Capitol. I mean, so the fact that Democrats, you know, took the blow, you know, they're mad, they're angry, they're everything, okay? They took the friggin' blow, and, you know, they're still hanging on. They're still, you know, they're mad, but they're not going to just give in to the emotion. But you know, what can you do? I mean, it's, when you're talking politics, things happen that's out of your control. The only time you had control was when you voted. After that, it's out of your control what goes on. And so you have to, what's that saying? You know, change the things you can change and accept the things you can't change. You know, that's one of those things, you know, to try to tell people not to sweat it over things you got no control over, because you just, you know, would it help to just worry all the fucking time? Of course not, you know. So yeah, I thought that was an interesting article here. And here's something, another little thing here that to kind of show you and illustrate to everybody just what Republicans are. Nancy Mace, a Republican, she introduced a bill to ban trans women from the Capitol bathrooms after the first openly trans lawmaker, Sarah McBride, was elected. Yeah. You see what I mean? You know, Republicans, I'll tell you, they just can't wait to try and control people. They can't wait. Everything about them is about pushing the hate narrative. Okay? That's what they are. I mean, who the hell are they to be going around carrying this torch of ethics? Who the hell are they? When everything they've done has been to destroy this country. When the man that they've supported to be president again is himself an unethical person, okay, who has raped women, probably molested underage girls, okay, because he hung around with Jeffrey Epstein, right? And he was into trafficking, okay? Broke the law, convicted on 34 counts, which he probably never answer for now because he's the president. But a guy with a very shady, dubious past, and yet the Republicans are going to be the ones to tell us where the bear shits in the woods, right, when it comes to right and wrong, you know? And right now, a lot of Republicans are really pissed that Democrats are confirming a lot of Biden's judges here that he picked. So, you know, again, they're afraid of being caught in doing wrong, okay, which they know that ethical judges will, you know, prosecute, you know, or well not prosecute, but, you know, they will sit in judgment over them, and they don't want that. They don't want to answer for things that they do that's wrong, okay? I mean, why do you think they like Trump so much? You know? And then Marjorie Taylor Greene comes out and suggests releasing all ethics reports, not just Getz's. If we're going to dance, let's all dance in the sunlight, she said. Well, okay, fine. We'll take her offer. And I guarantee you, she's, the stuff in her background ain't going to be wanting something she's going to want out there. But, if we're going to do a house cleaning, then we need to go all the way and say, well, if we find something on you, are you going to protect them so they don't get ousted, or are you going to back up your mouth, and get rid of people who are sitting there and don't deserve to be sitting in that seat, That's what I say to her, because I know she don't mean it. She's just venting her frustration because she's mad that Democrats are going after every pick that Trump's been making for his administration because these people are unethical, So, I mean, it's fucking crazy. I mean, the crap that goes on now. All right, so let's go to a commercial break here, and we'll come right back.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me!
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
How stupid are the people of Iowa? How stupid are the people of the country? We have people that are stupid. There's something wrong with them. And there's something wrong with her, too. She's slow, low IQ. She's a low IQ individual. Low IQ individuals. Well, you think they're stupid, and they are really pretty dumb. Stupid. She didn't know where the hell she was going. Does she drink? Is she on drugs? Some of the dumbest people I've ever met in my life. A terrible, stupid person. And he's stupidly, because he's a stupid guy, too. He's a stupid son of a bitch. We have a guy who's a dumb son of a bitch.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay?
The Democrats say, please don't call them animals. They're humans. I said, no, they're not humans. They're not humans. They're animals. Root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country.
But do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle? There has to be some form of punishment. For the woman? Yeah, there has to be some form.
Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. When the guns are trained on her face. Now, we're a failing country. We are a failing nation. We are a nation in decline. We are a nation in decline. We are a failed nation. The American dream is dead.
Good morning, listeners. Hope you didn't oversleep today.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Welcome back, everybody. All right, I want to start with this article here that I read this morning. Here, it's on Yahoo News and written by Joseph Wolfson. Yeah, okay. It's entitled "Katie Couric Rips Kamala Harris for Word Salad Responses in Campaign Interviews. Answer the goddamn question." Another one that can't understand language here. Am I going to have to give Katie Couric, an education on word salad? I got to translate for her. Katie Couric took a swipe at Vice President Kamala Harris for her non-answers in various interviews leading up to the presidential election. On Thursday's installment of her podcast, Next Question with Katie Couric, the veteran broadcaster had a lengthy post-election conversation with MSNBC host and longtime Democrat spokesman Jen Psaki, who said she thought one of Harris's better interviews was her Fox News sit-down with Bret Baier. Quote, "I always find that people who do better when they're asked really challenging, pointed questions. I always felt that way about Hillary Clinton," unquote, Couric said. Quote, "If you're giving them these almost weird, like amorphous softballs, it's really hard to kind of hone your message and be succinct and say what you really need to say," unquote. Quote, "I also felt that, and again, I think Harris really did well in so many areas, but I was frustrated by her inability to really answer questions at times," Jen, unquote, Couric continued. Quote, "Like if she was asked about changing the Supreme Court at the CNN town hall, she had an opportunity to talk about ethics and what, Supreme Court Justices Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas were doing, and she answered like in one sentence and then went on to something else that had nothing to do with the question," unquote. Couric said, quote, "People notice that. It's like, answer the goddamn question, please," unquote. She then pivoted to Harris's now infamous comments on The View, where she was asked about what she would do differently from President Biden, calling it, quote, "one of the most damaging things," unquote. What she said was she wouldn't do anything differently. That's what she said on The View. So, quote, "Okay, Jen, you're an insider. Why didn't Joe Biden say, listen, I know you're going to have to separate yourself from this administration. Let's talk about areas where you can, where they're legitimate, and Godspeed," unquote. Couric wondered. Well, because I think somebody wrote that it was almost as if they were more afraid of hurting Joe Biden's feelings than winning the election, unquote. Katie Couric, I think you're missing the point here. The bigger picture, rather. I mean, not the point, but you're not looking at this from the big picture point of view. The media, during this campaign with her, with Kamala Harris, they had standards set for her that were pretty high. They expected the best out of her, okay? They made sure that she, you know, showed up for the interviews. You remember that, how they hounded her because she took so long to do interviews, okay? But, you know, at the same time, she was very busy jumping into a fucking campaign with only 102, 107 days, whatever it was, to go, okay? You got to give allowances for that. But no, I mean, the media wasn't doing that. They didn't want to give her any allowances for the time that, you know, she had left to do this. And at the same time, they so scrutinized everything she said and did. Okay, that's why when I was watching the debate and the DNC convention, I didn't want to watch it through MSNBC or any of these other news outlets, okay, as you know, while they were airing it on their stations, okay, because I didn't want to hear the pundits, you know, mumbling and bitching or whatever. I just wanted to watch it raw. And if you watched the convention, you know, through the PBS, I think it was, and it was just, they're just airing that. They're not saying, they don't have no pundits, nobody's in there in the background throwing their 2 cents in. If you watched it that way, you walked away feeling a whole lot more informed than you would have if you watched it on one of those news stations where they tear everything apart after it's been said. Okay, they're trying to tell you what to think. Now, I think in that regard, the media really influenced a lot of people's votes, and not in a good way, okay? That being said, Donald Trump was not held to a fucking standard at all. Where was the media where he was out there talking, oh, they're gonna eat your dogs and they're gonna eat your pets? You know, where the hell was the media sitting there saying how deplorable he was acting? Nowhere. It was crickets. It was fucking crickets. You know? And then, they sat there and they got lambasted by J.D. Vance, you know, for criticizing them for fact-checking while they were doing things, you know, and the media didn't take offense to that, right? They just absorbed the criticism and they kept going. You know, it's like, where are the standards for the other side? You guys held Kamala Harris over the fire through the whole campaign. You were watching every fucking move she made. Every little thing that could be contrived as a fucking fault, you put it out there. But when it came to Donald Trump, who was putting all the faults out there that he had, putting his real self out there for people to see, even though apparently nobody was believing it. They all thought he was acting and making things up. No, that's him. That is who he is. And even though he was doing that, the media just went along with it. They didn't bitch about, oh, the bar, you know, he's not meeting the bar of, you know, equality in this country to be running for president. No, you didn't have a bar over his head. For one reason, we already know he has no quality. Rapist, convicted felon, 34 times, stole national secrets, incited a fucking riot. The guy is so unqualified, it's laughable that he even ran and won again, okay? The rest of the world is looking at us like we're fucking nuts in a nut house, all right? And that would be a pretty accurate perception of us at this point in our country's history. We are the nuts in the nut house. And because of that, we elected the king nut of all to take over the country. And so the media is out there bitching at Kamala Harris. Oh, wow, your word salad. No, you wouldn't answer the goddamn question. Okay, fuck you. Fuck you, Katie Couric, and fuck all of you others out there who kept going after Kamala for every little damn thing that she said and didn't say. Okay? And at the same time, you let Donald Trump run amok all over the fucking place, scaring the shit out of people. Okay? Causing riots in his wake. You know, I mean, the guy was he was drama. Everywhere he went, there was drama. People shooting at him, people wanting to shoot at him, you know, and him saying some stuff, and when he leaves, it causes a damn town riot. I mean, how does any of that play into the narrative of a man who is qualified, and you don't set a bar of standard over this fucker? If you did, he wouldn't meet it, and you know that. And if he couldn't meet it and you kept criticizing that for it, that would have hurt his chances. But for some reason, nobody wanted to do that. Okay? And of course, it doesn't help when the right wing is out there, doing their thing, their propaganda. Well, if you got no anti-propaganda to match that, then you know where the tide is gonna shift. You people just were remiss in your duties as a journalist. You people didn't do your job. Now all this criticism comes out now after the election. That should have been around before. You see what I'm saying? All this 2020 hindsight shit is for the dogs, because you people had all the information that you needed to show to the American people that Trump was garbage, but you sat on it, and instead you went after the one candidate who had the qualifications and the goods to be able to run this country. Okay, so you made your bed now, and people like Kurt, I don't even want to hear from them. All right, here's a video here about a mass exodus of people leaving X, the website X, that's run by Elon Musk. So let's go to that, and let's see on the other side.
22. Since then, users and advertisers have left in droves after Musk relaxed the control of content. Musk's support for Donald Trump has provoked another exodus of users. The British newspaper The Guardian quit on Thursday. And the U.S. novelist Stephen King, he has joined them. He tweeted, "I'm leaving Twitter, tried to stay, but the atmosphere was just become too toxic." And he said to his 7 million X-followers, "Follow me on Threads if you like." All right, for more now, I want to bring in Zeev Sanderson. He's the executive director of New York University's Center for Social Media and Politics. Zeev, it's good to have you with us. So we've got Stephen King. He's joined the exodus, just like the British newspaper The Guardian. But there's nothing new about the concerns over what X has become since Musk took over. So why are they leaving so late?
Yeah, it's a good question. So obviously this isn't a trend that's just starting now. That being said, I sort of want to note that there's not much precedence for an owner of a major social media platform to be as partisan as Musk, and to sort of, be as active in the platform and content moderation as Musk has been. Likely what we're probably seeing is an impact from the election and Musk's very active role in trying to shape the information environment around the election in order to nominate Donald Trump. Now, what effect this will exactly have on either X or other platforms is yet to be seen. But my guess is that, it's largely driven by Musk's sort of attempt to support Trump during the election.
And for those people, unlike Stephen King, who choose to remain on the platform, the terms of use, they changed today, directing all legal challenges to a conservative-leaning court in Texas. Now, that's away from where X is based near Austin. What do you think that's going to mean?
Practically, it's unclear what it's going to mean. Clearly, this is just trying to move X sort of away from being held accountable for its actions here towards, a legal jurisdiction, or with specifically a judge that is going to be, I think, a little bit more open to some of Musk's sort of culture war politics. But my background is more in political science and studying the information environment, and I've made the mistake exactly once of commenting too directly on legal dynamics. So I'll sort of end there. But yeah.
Let me ask you for your take on this then. Musk is already suing the watchdog Media Matters in this new court for X because it alleged that advertisements appeared next to pro-Nazi sites. Have you ever seen anything like this on a social media platform?
No, certainly not a major social media platform. And there's an irony here that when Musk bought X, or at that point Twitter, that in part, his rhetoric around why he wanted to buy the platform was to make it more transparent. And an important part of transparency broadly is research on the platform that holds the platform accountable for its actions. So, I'm not the first, certainly, to make this point, but it is disappointing to see sort of further litigation in this regard. Another important terms of service change that occurred recently was that he's, made it increasingly difficult for for academic researchers like us to be able to access platform data either directly from the platform or by collecting it via sort of automated means. So I think we're just seeing sort of continued push into less transparency, not more transparency.
I got to ask you another question about litigation. Musk is suing companies such as Unilever, Mars, Orsted, and there are others for violating antitrust laws and for keeping billions of dollars of advertising money away from him. I mean, he says that they should spend with him. Now he has the ear of President-elect Donald Trump. Should those companies, should they be worried?
So I think that they could, when it comes again to litigation itself, it seems pretty well established that companies have First Amendment protections, and where they spend advertising dollars falls under corporate speech. So I would be very surprised if this actually went very far in the courts. I think what we're going to see here is just another 4 years of sort of direct engagement with culture war issues, and with trying to hold institutions sort of from the right accountable for speech that contradicts their perspective. So again, when it comes to direct impact of litigation, I'd be relatively surprised if there was an effect. But I think that this is just going to be part of what the next 4 years of a second Trump administration looks like.
Yeah, we started with Stephen King. Let me wrap this up with Stephen King. He's asked his followers to migrate to Threads with him. Blue Sky is currently the most downloaded app on the App Store in the United States. Number 2 right now is Threads. I mean, there once was a migration to Mastodon that fizzled out. Do you see any of these emerging as the dominant Twitter X replacement?
Yeah. So, for studying social media platforms, we refer to this as network effects, where the value of a platform is essentially because everyone else is there, and the more people are there, the more valuable it becomes. It's tough to prognosticate. As you said, this has happened before. I think what we're likely to see is not a single X or Twitter replacement. We're not going to see a single sort of short form text based platform that replaces what Twitter was a few years ago. But I think what we're likely to see is the social media environment continue to look more like the traditional media environment, where it's heavily fractured and you see a number of different platforms, end up becoming relatively robust and permanent. But I think it's probably unlikely, especially given how many right-leaning accounts are going to remain on X, for there to be a wholesale replacement of what Twitter used to be.
Yeah, the fracturing may continue. Steve Sanderson, Executive Director of New York University Center for Social Media and Politics. Steve, good talking with you. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
I don't know why Musk would even give a shit, about people leaving his dumb website anyway. He's going to have too much to do there working for Trump. Okay? But, it's pretty obvious why people are leaving, okay? After the election, and of course, Musk was supporting Trump during the election. So, yeah, Trump wins, and the people, and I can't even believe there were still any Democrats still using that fucking website. But, yeah, it was conceivable they would be leaving there and going to Blue Sky or Threads. The advertisers are dumping from him as well. He wants to sue. How can you sue advertisers for pulling their ads off, off of the page? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You can't sue somebody for that. They have every right to put ads on or not. Okay. It's like, forget it. Ain't even worth the breath. But people are panicking that this is a way of trying to control comments and stuff, and I'm thinking, they do this anyway. If it isn't every company that has a web page or something, I mean, they go through content. They got algorithms that stop people from posting shit that might have something in there that's inciting or or create violence or whatever. But these people on X, from what I gather, the ones that use X, I mean, if there's an algorithm that stops people from posting inflammatory comments, it ain't working. Okay? But if you're a Democrat on there and you're posting stuff about Biden that's good and all that, you might find yourself being attacked by a whole bunch of people on that page, and nobody's there to stop it. So, you know, when Musk bought Twitter, okay, this going back a little bit, I knew it was going to turn into a shit show, okay, and I was right. That's why I left Twitter, okay, and it was like a year after, or not even that, he changed the name of Twitter to X, and it's been getting worse ever since. I mean, more and more people that I know left Twitter, and they're on some other, using some other app for their political comments and stuff like that. I'm thinking about maybe joining Blue Sky, because people seem to think that one's more like the way Twitter was. So I might make an account there, and I don't know. I'll make one, and I'll just kind of sit around and see what it's like. And if I like it, I'll stay. If not, I'll just cancel the account. But you know, that's what I'm going to do. And so, look at my cat here. Look what she's doing. I bought her a tiny pool table, and she's in there trying to get the balls out of the thing here, Kiki. What are you doing here, Kiki? What are you doing there, Kiki Kitties? Kiki. See? Look. See? Go get it now. Jeez. Yeah. I don't know. I saw that down at the Go store, and I thought, you know, maybe Smokey'd like to play with it because it's got little balls on it there that she likes to knock around. All right, so I got one more video here, and it's about 9 minutes long. So let's go to that.
By now, you have already heard of the layoffs that have happened, but you haven't heard of the mass layoffs that are coming. Millions of Americans are about to be impacted here real soon because of all these companies that are laying off employees, people that are going on strike, businesses that are going bankrupt, and so on. Today, I want to break down what's going on and why the United States could be in more trouble to start 2025 than in the past handful of years. So I'll break all this down in just a moment, but all I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now, let's begin. So millions and millions of Americans will be out of work very soon. And this is troubling. I want to show you just some of the headlines that we have seen over the past few weeks. Look at this. 7-Eleven is going to close 444 underperforming stores in North America. But we don't know which stores those are. Look at this one. PPG is going to lay off 1,800 employees as paints and coatings maker aims to cut costs. Yeah, it keeps on getting worse. Look at this one. Boeing to lay off 17,000 workers as crisis deepens. It says the company is in deep trouble. Now, here's the big thing. It's not just Boeing. Look at this. Europe's Airbus to lay off 2,500 as it tries to turn around its space and defense division. Now, here's something you need to know about these companies. They are laying people off, but these aren't the big issues. Okay, these companies, they're struggling a little bit here and there, but the big problem is what happens when their suppliers, their manufacturers, now have to lay off employees. Again, this issue right here, Boeing laying off 17,000 people, that is concerning, but what about all the small suppliers? What about all the people that are just waiting to send their products into Boeing? What about them? And now, I know a lot of people aren't too concerned here, but you should be. because all these manufacturing plants, all these machinists, okay, all these people that are supplying parts to these large companies are in trouble. But I want to read you something, because what's happening here is just the start, okay? But look at this. Phillips 66 is going to close California refinery days after Gavin Newsom signed the oil law. That facility supplies California with about 8% of its gasoline. Here's the reason why it's an issue. We are trying to go electric. So all those companies that are selling gasoline, that are doing fixes for gas-powered vehicles, guess what? They could be out of jobs here in the next handful of years. Not in the next months, but a handful of years. Look at this one. This is the one I really want to talk about. Walgreens plans to close 1,200 U.S. stores, and it says here's when your local drugstore will start closing. Now, I just want to be very clear on this. Walgreens is closing for a handful of different reasons. Some underperforming stores, others they're trying to transition, they're trying to restructure their business. But here's the big concern, and I want to read this comment to you. This person wrote to me and says this, and I quote, "It's really upsetting to know that Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, and other pharmacies will be closing down. I've worked for a company that manufactures throat lozenges sold in those 3 retail stores, and we are already being told of mass layoffs to start the new year. Thanks for keeping everybody informed. The layoffs won't stop at the retail level." That's what I want to discuss. This is why millions of people are going to be impacted. It's not because their specific employer is going to need to lay them off, but it's because of the businesses that they are selling to. Keep this in mind, okay? Back in 2016, 2017, I was doing some consulting with some companies, and one of the companies I was doing some consulting with, they were selling like they're like protein muffins or something like that, and they were really struggling. And so one of the things that they decided to do was they were going to go and sell their muffins to this one commercial office building. Okay, great. And I thought that was a great idea. They're going to be able to sell their muffins. Perfect. And they know how many muffins they need to make roughly for that commercial office building. This was a great way to make money. Now, they went from that office building, and then there was one just right across the street, and then one like kitty corner to that. So they had 3 office buildings, and this was, again, back in 2017, I believe. And so what ended up happening is that office building, during the pandemic, okay, keep this in mind, during the pandemic, they pretty much went empty. Okay, all 3 empty. Here's the problem. And again, this is why I bring this to your attention. Just because those office buildings were empty, that muffin shop, okay, they made their protein muffins, went out of business. Guess what happened to their suppliers that sold the sugar, sold the protein powder, sold the flour, whatever you need, right? The eggs, that supplier. I don't know if they went out of business, but here's what I do know. It puts more pressure on them to go and find somebody else to sell to, because that muffin shop just went out of business. This is the exact same thing that happens with Walgreens. This person that commented and said that their company manufactures throat lozenges. Well, what happens when the Walgreens is going to close 1,200 U.S. stores, right? And what if that's 10%? I don't know exactly how many stores Walgreens has here in the United States. They currently have, it says, despite surpassing fourth quarter sales and profit expectations, about 14% of its 8,600 U.S. stores are closing, starting in 2025 with 500 locations. Okay, so 14% of their stores are closing. What if this company that is selling throat lozenges, and what if they decide, you know what, that's 14%. What if they just take 14% of their sales and they just knock that off, right? Because they don't need it. 14% of the stores are closing. And so here's the troubling part. What happens to that company? That company's going to have to lay off more employees. or actually lay off employees. This person's talking about they're already discussing mass layoffs to start the new year. I'm telling you right now that we are going to see mass layoffs across the board. Look at this one. Iconic outdoor retailer Orvis will lay off 8% of workforce and close stores, says the 170-year-old Vermont-based retailer known for its workwear and fishing gear will also trim its assortment and drop its famous catalog. Yeah, we are going into a completely new world. Okay, completely different. The troubling part about where we're going to, or where we're going to be, nobody knows. Nobody has any idea. All we know right now, just from a business standpoint, is businesses are really struggling to turn a profit in their current state. Now, if they restructure, they lay off employees, they raise prices, things look completely different. But if they raise prices, some consumers will not be able to shop there because they won't be able to afford it. And as that happens, guess what? They lay off employees. So we are about to see some mass layoffs here very soon. I just want to warn you, even though it may not be your company that is going to conduct these layoffs, your company will be impacted. Your business, your employer will be impacted. I guarantee it. So I will leave you with that, but that is what we know as of today. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Okay, well, all right. So, yeah, some pretty bad forecasting here of the layoffs to come. And if you go online and Google layoffs, I'm sure you're going to find a plethora of articles, which I did, but there's no way I'm going to read every single one of them now. But the fact is, there's a lot of places that are looking at laying off and closing stores and stuff like that. And I think for, a lot of places, I think it's because they're preparing for the economic changes that are to come under Trump. And I don't know. It's going to be a very difficult time for America, and really, I think that, the way things shook down with Trump being president, I have to also consider what would have happened if Kamala won. And here's what I think would have happened. The first 2 years of her presidency would have been a lame duck because of who's running the houses right now, okay? She wouldn't have been able to get much done if she was president. And because of that, they would have blamed her for being ineffective as president, and the Republicans would have continued to gain control of the two houses, okay, in her second part of that first term. So would Kamala have been able to do a lot of the things that she said she wanted to do? Who knows? But my guess is probably not. And her time as president probably would have been a one-term thing, because the Republicans would have hammered her so hard for not accomplishing anything, even though it was them all along that was preventing anything from getting done, just like what they did under Biden there, practically, they would have made it hard for her. So I'm thinking, well, yeah, it would have been different. I mean, at least we wouldn't be looking at, her trying to, deport people by the hundreds of thousands in this country, and spending all kinds of money, billions of dollars, in trying to accomplish that. We wouldn't be looking at layoffs. We wouldn't be looking at, companies bracing themselves for economic hard times. There's a lot of other things that we wouldn't have to worry about. But, in this regard, we get Trump, and if the Democrats are smart, we'll take the houses back in 2 years, making him a lame duck for the remainder of his time as president. And then, maybe we might be able to get the presidency, after, Trump buries himself with the public, which you can bank on him doing that. We have to allow him to hang himself, so that way, when his time is over as president, we will get a Democrat in there as president. Because once again, we'll have all the evidence and ammo we need, just like the last time, to keep him out from a second term or another, or just to keep him out from you know, being able to do anything to prevent a Democrat from, you know, getting elected. So maybe we have to go through the shitstorm to come out the other side to get what we want, okay? And maybe Kamala can come back after Trump's done with his time as president, and she can run again, and then she'll have both houses on her side in her first 2 years, okay? You see what I'm getting at? Maybe it'll work out better this way than if she had won the presidency and spent the 4 years being a lame duck president, okay? So, just something to think about. All right, so that's it for today. I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. So please subscribe, comment, and share, and keep your ears open for health news. And treat each other nice out there. And I will talk to you later. So take care, everybody.